Timmy looked at the wall clock, which was always right with the one thing it had to do. It was almost time. He carefully packed his things in his bag and placed them on the table. He looked around and his cabin was just like it always was, clutterless and clean. His eyes fixed to an indistinct point and he went thoughtful. He was thinking about Earlene, a girl, 21, who by some uncommon luck happened to end up meeting him, in a situation as weird, when both of their dates failed them at the same restaurant. It was 4 years ago, but was very fresh in Timmy's mind. Timmy, now a man who recently turned 22, lived alone in a well-off flat in the calm neighborhood of the Vistas colony. He often felt blessed that he met Earlene. Currently, he had not seen Earlene for the past 3 days, though they have had short talks on the phone, which Earlene tried to shorten. Amongst the chattering of people in his office, "Let's go," Timmy mumbled, getting hold of his dark yet shiny office bag and brushing things to their places on his desk. One last recheck, he said to himself, looking into the bright white drawers that he pulled open without any expectations, giving away a casual look to each. Reaching out to the last one on his left, which he probably tried to skip, accustomed to the indifferent results the other drawers came up with, a bright blue piece of paper caught his attention. A color not at all common for papers in his cabin. He looked at it curiously as he brought it near him. The name at the bottom read Earlene. His mind throbbed. His ears refused to hear any of those indistinct voices around him anymore. His tired face now wore a shy smile. He held the paper to his comfort of reading. The letter read, "Hey Timmy, I write you this letter because I'm too coward to talk to you. I will be to the point and not make it difficult for you. Timmy, do you remember, you wanted to know why I went to my aunt's house every Sunday or whenever I feel like, as you might have thought? Tim, it was not my aunt's house that I went to." A shiver went down his body. His smile faded as he read it. "I never wanted to keep secrets, Timmy." His heart raced his breath. He eagerly wanted to skip to the matter. But not even the slightest thought of being cheated struck his mind. He trusted Earlene more than he did himself. "I don't think you will forgive me for not telling you this earlier, or in person. Timmy, you're the only one whom I loved like one of my family members." Timmy lost track of the time and the place he was in. He overread words and had to reread a few words to make sense. "Tim, the doctor confirmed I'm sick. It was on July 23rd. Timmy, I know it's difficult for you. I was too cowardly to talk to you about it. I never wanted to see you sad." An unwillingness to blink so profound that his eye black shivered until blinded with tears, leaving him unable to read anymore. Closing his eyes, he tried to flush the tears, but nothing helped until he put down his bag to wipe his eyes. He checked the calendar. It said July 27th. He sat back holding the paper with both hands. Tears rolled down his cheeks endlessly as he read further. "Timmy, doctors say it's bad. You know, Timmy, I'm not sure of my fate, neither if you will find this letter before it's too late or I will gather enough courage to talk to you before that." There were more words that followed, but his eyes were too blurry to read them. He stood up with a jerk and took out his phone, but never understood what to do next, staring at the locked screen. He paced across the office hall, shoving people aside as he made his way. His hands trembled as he tried to key in his car. The drive to Earlene's house was not more than 20 minutes, but for him, it was an anxious one. The setting sun seemed to him like a dimming hope. Finally, he made it to her house. Parking recklessly, he jumped out of his car. He pushed the doorbell as hard as he could with his shivering hands. He could hear calm voices from within as he waited impatiently. It was Earlene's mother who greeted him. Timmy's anxious look gave Mrs. Xander an idea of what was up with him. Before he could say a word she said, "Yes, she is home. Please come in," moving out of his way. Mrs. Xander called for Earlene. Timmy heard the soothing reply that he longed for. "Look who is here," Mrs. Xander cried as Earlene ran down the stairs swiftly. Her steps trembled with ecstasy and her eyes widened at the sight of Timmy. But soon slowed down as she read his sore eyes. She instinctively cried, "What happened, Tim?" but faded away as she was quick to realize. Her steps ceased. Her eyes restlessly oscillated between love and shame. Before she said another word, Timmy hugged her, bursting into tears. Neither could Earlene hold back hers. Mrs. Xander, hiding her blurry eyes, turned away to shut the door. Both of them wanted to speak, but their words trembled and overlapped. Finally, Timmy spoke softly, "Why couldn't you tell me, Earlene?" Earlene burst, I just couldn't. Mom wanted me to tell it to you, but I don't know what's up with me." "Nothing's wrong with you, Earlene," Timmy interrupted, kissing her cheek. "See how ugly I look," she whispered in a sad tone, removing her beanie. "I see no difference," he kissed her again. "By the way," he said softly yet sarcastically, "that was such a to-the-point letter." Both chuckled as he wiped her rolling tears. They heard Mrs. Xander speaking lively, "Snacks here, Timmy, take a seat." All three talked for some time. Earlene rarely spoke. Mrs. Xander made the talk light and positive. Timmy often looked at her in despair but looked away at times to avoid eye contact. Earlene accompanied him to his car. "Earlene, how about dinner tomorrow?" Timmy asked, looking into her eyes with expectations. Her eyeballs lowered, tossing from one side to the other, avoiding contact. "It's okay if you don't want to." He tried to soothe her. "You would like to stay with your family at this time." "Timmy, you are my family," she interrupted. "I will be at the Skylark Sonatel tomorrow," she said after a short pause. "Dad has some things to collect from Park Street. He will drop me there. Please don't trouble yourself to pick me up," she added. None said a word anymore. But their eyes made the talking until Timmy turned away to his car. A tear fell whirling as he did. Timmy drove off slowly until he couldn't bear it anymore and pulled off, sobbing helplessly. Timmy showed up on time. He sat in the same spot where he first met Earlene. He waited patiently, looking at others inattentively. Amongst the low-pitched, indistinct noises, his phone rang up. It was her. "Timmy," she said, "do you remember how we met for the first time? How our dates ditched us? How sad we were? Where are you, Earlene?" Timmy asked instinctively, sensing some problem. "Timmy, it was then, when we first met," she continued, without attending to him. "I want you to think today is that same day. I want to be the bad date, Timmy, like the one who failed you 4 years ago. I want you to look around and find someone better. I want you to move on, Timmy. I love you, Timmy, and I will always do," she said softly yet hastened through as Timmy heard the people around her loud and distinct, "Call in the doctors to Ward 3, this is an emergency." The phone beeped dead. Timmy brimmed with emotions he couldn't understand what to do. He felt his heart pounding. His limbs weighed a ton. His phone rang up again. He wiped his eyes to read the name, which said Mr. Xander. He slammed the phone to his ears. "Timmy," he stammered, "Earlene has been rushed to the altruistic city hospital just now." Timmy heard no more. Within seconds, he was off with his car, speeding to the hospital, honking brutally at people on his way. He inquired about Earlene at the reception. He walked swiftly across the long bright corridor, with shiny white and blue tiles, watching 4 people standing right outside a door at the end which read, "Emergency Room." Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more.